guys. Welcome to another episode of Loncar Live. So, my family and very close friends know how special my special guest is to me tonight. More on exactly why that is a little bit later in the show. Tonight's guest, Cory Murchy. Rock star, awesome human being, bass player for Minus the Bear. I've been to many a Minus the Bear concerts, I'm privileged to say. And this is a very, very, very special stream for me tonight. I see Aunt Lori in the chat. What is up, Bogdom? Oh, Bogdom, yeah. What's up, everybody? Shumkoi with the resub. All the love in the chat, as always. Thanks for being here tonight, guys. I know for a fact you guys are going to have a great time tonight. I know for a fact that if you are not aware of Minus the Bear and you like music, then I definitely know that Minus the Bear will have some new fans tonight after tonight's stream. And again, I'll be sharing exactly why tonight's guest is so special to me a little bit later on the set. And this is episode 4 of Loncar Live. It's been a great experience doing this stream so far. And again, thanks for all the love in the chat as always. Appreciate you guys tuning in every single Wednesday night. And with that, let's get right into it. Hey, Cousin Katie in the house. Welcome into the chat. Let's go, cuz. Yeah, so let's get into it, guys. Let's get into it. Lay go. All right. Oh, I'm the worst. Let me do one quick little setup thingamabobber right here that I got to do. And we have, again, a very special guest here on set tonight. Couldn't be a more fitting guest. And boom. There we go. We are good to go. Cory Murchy, yo, thanks for being here, man.
Good to be here. Yeah, thanks for having me, cuz.
Yeah. So, yes, Cory is my cousin, man. This is my cousin, Mr. Cory Murchy. And, talk to me. How you doing? You said you had some work on the fields today, and...
Yeah, doing well. Just been busy working here down in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Working, doing some irrigation work on a old ranch that's been around for a few hundred years, and just keeping busy. Keep awesome. Moving.
That's awesome. And so for those of you just tuning in, we are live on set with Cory Murchy, and I received a lot of text, Cory, from a number of my friends who, have become ginormous Minus the Bear fans, and telling me how excited they are that you're on here tonight. So for those of you that don't know, Cory, nice. How long have you been with Minus the Bear? How long has it been now?
We formed around 2001, so we were a band for about 17, 18 years. And then we called it quits, and we now have our last record out, which is a live album, which was recorded on our last tour. We were a band for about 17, 18 years, and toured the world, toured the countries, many times, and really, had a good time doing it. But it was a fun gig.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like just about every single year, for a long time, I was like, oh yeah, Cory's in Japan, Cory's here, Cory's there, Cory's traveling everywhere. That had to have been amazing, not only doing what you love to do, but being able to travel and meet new people and connect with people through your music. But let's back it up a little bit, Cory. Let's back it up a little bit. Let's talk about the way early days. Do you remember a point in your childhood when you said to yourself, like, I want to be a rock star? Or was there a point when you started, so was there a point when you started playing an instrument at a certain age? And how did getting into a rock band, how did that happen? How did everything evolve?
I'll tell you this. I probably spent more time thinking that I would never play music as my profession than I did actually think that I would be. Just because, like, my dad is a really great vocalist and guitar player and singer, and like he did that while I was growing up, and it didn't really. I was always like, oh no, I'm gonna be a fighter pilot in the Navy or something, like totally rebel against the music thing. But then when I was about 13, all of a sudden I started listening to music on my own, and like Nirvana came out, and happened to be from Aberdeen, which is, we've got a lot of family from Aberdeen and family connections. And it was like, went off in my head, and it was like, wait, I can do this. Like that is awesome. And so, yeah, it just kind of took off from there. I mean, it's a cliche thing to say, but like, it was a real turning point for a lot of folks. I think to make, to do music on your own terms and not like necessarily like with the status quo, like idea of what you had to do for music. It really like was all of a sudden put in your own hands to do what you will with it. And we just kind of went with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So was it always the bass? Did you start off playing the bass, or what instrument did you first start playing?
Yeah, totally bass. I think it was kind of like the instrument that I was like, well, there's a lot of guitar players out there. I don't have the coordination for drums whatsoever. So let's go with 4 strings and see if I can,
bass it is.
And worked out. Yeah. And I love the instrument. How it, can really inform the songs and just kind of like lays the backbone for the songs. It's not like always like a flashy instrument, and I felt very comfortable just like playing that role of like laying the foundation and just being cool with that.
Nice. So is Minus the Bear the first group that you were a part of? Were you a part of other groups before Minus the Bear?
Yeah, no, I played in a bunch of bands, like growing up in high school and in Santa Fe. Played in like a bunch of ska bands and rock and roll bands and punk rock bands. And kind of like all sorts of weird bands throughout just kind of my trajectory, I guess. But I definitely moved to Seattle with like an intent to be in a band and to figure that out. So
yeah. So you moved to Seattle with the dream, and how did Minus the Bear come about? How did tell us all how it happened.
Yeah, just moved up to Seattle not knowing anybody as far as musician wise. But just with the drive to go ahead and give it a go. Met some people just through sheer will of like going out and meeting people. There was a pretty tight knit bar scene, rock and roll scene in Seattle at the time. And I just kind of started introducing myself to people, and met Dave and Aaron and Jake and Matt and all those guys. And we just kind of hit it off. And I mean, it's kind of weird because I know a lot of people are always like, how do you meet the people? And it's just like, you just go out and start shooting the shit and, throwing your name out there and just saying, let's go jam. And that's kind of the way it works.
So I'm just trying to, so when you guys all met, were you guys all in different bands, or were you guys not in any bands and you said, let's form a band? Like how exactly did it happen?
Yeah, everyone was in different bands, but everyone hung out at the same bar, and just people are always talking and like, oh yeah, we should play together, and oh, we should play together, and sometimes that works out and then it clicks. It's sometimes as dumb and simple as that.
That's awesome. So it was just destiny. You guys were meant to be together and play together. That's awesome. So you guys were all in different bands, and some way or another kind of played together and this and that, and then decided, yo, we all need to form up and make it happen together.
It clicked. Yeah, it clicked, and you just kind of go with the momentum at the time sometimes. And we wanted to play shows, and we wanted to tour and give it a go, and people responded. And I think it's all kind of inertia from there.
That's awesome. So I actually play Minus the Bear quite frequently on my poker streams, and I do get asked every once in a while the random question that I'm going to ask you right now. How did the band name Minus the Bear come about?
You can look very easily on your website, and you can find an answer.
Okay. There we go. We're gonna leave it at that. Okay, so I can actually recall my first time watching you guys play. It was Bumbershoot Music Festival. For those of you who don't know, Bumbershoot is a big music festival that goes on every year in Seattle, and I remember it was 2002 or 2003, and I'll always, I can't really imagine ever, and obviously I've seen Rolling Stones, I've seen so many big artists, and I would like to think that performance of seeing you guys play at Bumbershoot was a lot more than just watching my cousin, and I really do look back at that performance, for me personally, just on a personal level, as like a very magical night for me. I remember thinking to myself, like, they're gonna make it big. I could feel the music, I could feel the energy, and it was a very special performance for me. That was in the very, very early stages of you guys as a band. I remember, I think it was your first album had just dropped, which I played on loop all the time. So you guys played Bumbershoot, and I guess I want to know how did you guys start touring, and how did everything get going? I mean, obviously you guys formed a group, you guys obviously had some connections and whatnot, but how does a band come together and make an album and then start touring? How does that whole process begin, and what did it look like for you guys?
Yeah. I mean, I it's kind of the same thing as, like, once you just kind of get that inertia going, you just kind of keep going with the flow. We knew, well, I mean, from all of our other bands, we'd all toured, and made connections across the country within the DIY scene, and the punk rock scene and the hardcore scene. So you make those connections, and you're able to build on those friendships and past shows that you've played with your other bands. You reach out to people, and those people are able to vouch for you to put on a show or and you just kind of piggyback on that, right? Yeah. We took it serious enough to where we got a booking agent really soon, to be able to book proper shows, with guarantees that were able to get us to the next show. And then from there, you just kind of keep going, you know, you piggyback off of that. We were smart from a business sense in that we realized that, like, if we wanted to tour, which we did, and wanted to play the music that we were doing, which we did, we needed to be smart about it. And so you're smart about it from the get-go, and it kind of helps you come home from tour and not lose your ass, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, on a certain hand, we were just smart about touring, and we never wanted to lose money on going out, which we never did. And that's hard to do sometimes, but it was like, we tried to stay smart about it. I mean, ultimately, and that kept us out on the road for longer periods of time, to where we could hit those places more often and more often. And when you hit places more often, like, people come back to see you. So we were just like, we really invested on time on the road, like doing the job of playing music to people, and winning people over through our live shows, I think, in a lot of ways. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I don't know if that answers that. I think I went off on a tangent, but we worked and we put ourselves out there and proved ourselves to be a live band that people wanted to continue to come see, and see every time we came through town.
That's awesome. So obviously, when you guys formed Minus the Bear, right when you guys formed the band, I can't imagine a world where you were just a full-time musician, didn't have a side time, you know, part-time job or full-time job while you're making music. Was there a point in time when something happened or an event hit where you're like, wow, like, I could see myself going full-time musician and doing this full-blown and things are really picking up? Was there a moment that you remember where you kind of said that to yourself, like, oh wow, like, I don't need to, or did you always have a job while you're, well, I can't imagine you always had a job, but was there a point when it kind of shifted from part-time musician to full musician, and did you see that happening, or was it just kabam?
Yeah, well, so there's two things to that. First thing was, I moved to Seattle so that I could be a full-time musician that was touring, that was recording, that was, you know, making records and making a living as being a band. So I always knew that was what I was going to be doing. I had the audacity to, like, just say, fuck it and go for it. But two, there was a moment, because it doesn't just happen overnight. Obviously, like, there were many tours that I was still coming back and working, you know, full-time jobs if they let me back, or taking, you know, part-time jobs, cutting threads on backpacks, like in a sweatshop. But I realized, like, we were able to do it just, I don't know if there was, like, the actual second part of the question of like, was there a moment when I was like, oh, wow, we're doing this? It was just, we were just working constantly. So it was like, we were doing it, but we were still just doing it. Like, there was no moment that it was like, whew, we did it. Like, we made it. Like, it was just like, okay, we're able to pay our bills. We're doing this. When's the next time we go out so we can continue doing this, if that makes sense?
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome, man. So talk to me about, talk about your first time on tour, first time on the road. I would imagine that would be an experience that you'll never forget, especially, you know, the first time on road. And the new experiences and hiccups and different things that come along. Tell me about that. Tell me about your first time on tour.
Yeah, I mean, it's like doing anything for the first time. Everything is new, everything is exciting. Yeah, I mean, it's like a lot of those times to where they're really hard, but when they're new, you don't really realize like how much it sucks. So you just kind of go for it. A lot of that. So,
okay,
so sleeping on people's floors, and waking up and realizing like, oh, there's a lot more cockroaches than when you went to sleep.
So there was no super fancy tour bus the first tour is what you're telling me.
No, not for probably like the first 12, 13 years. Yeah. Wow. It was 12, 13 of being in a van and trailer and driving ourselves around, and maybe getting a hotel room to share between the 12 of us. So
okay. Yeah, so okay, so it's not exactly what I was picturing. It's not exactly what I was picturing. But
no, it never is.
Yeah.
Never.
That's very true. That's very true. Yeah, it's that's awesome though. Yeah, obviously looking back, I would imagine some of the tours pre-bus days and whatnot are probably some of the most special moments you had, I would imagine, because obviously it's about the experience of playing in front of crowds and meeting people. And it's not just about doing it nice or whatever. Obviously, I would imagine maybe even some of the tours in the beginning maybe are some of your favorites, I would imagine.
Yeah, of course. You're figuring it out with your friends, and you're like pirates, just kind of trying to figure out your own path. And so, yeah, it's all exciting, and you don't know any better. And you're just thankful to be able to pay rent when you come home, and when you're not, you're out on the road and you're hanging out with your friends and, doing exactly what you dreamed of. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Very exciting.
Awesome. And Mr. POTUS 5000 in the chat says, "Hey Cory, what's happening, man? I've seen your band play live a few times in Vancouver and Kelowna." Mr. POTUS, what's up, man? Awesome.
Cool.
Very cool. Shelly and Ben.
Beautiful town of Kelowna.
You love Kelowna?
Yeah, beautiful part of BC. Absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah, I actually lived up in Vancouver for 6 months and went to Kelowna for a couple days, and very, very cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Stozy Poke says, are they getting the band back together? I don't think that's the plan. I think that's, no, it's minus the bear. The minus the bear days are unfortunately behind us.
Yeah.
So obviously I gotta ask, if you had to pick out your favorite story that you can share on air, from on tour, if you had to think about your favorite memory or your favorite story or funny story, what would you what's your go-to? What comes to your mind?
There's a lot. I mean, there's 17 years worth of
that's such a ridiculously tough generalized question. Share with us a few moments, a few funny stories, anything and all that comes to your mind that really stands out from touring.
Yeah, I mean, there again, 17 years of just like inside jokes, most ridiculous. I mean, that's the thing, is like you spend 17 years with this core group of people. You really like run the gamut of like really great times and really horrible times, and like the funniest times and the worst times, and there's no shortage of all of it, and you're thankful for all of it too, because 17 years worth of stories.
It's a long time.
Boy. Yeah, it is. It's kind of hard. I mean, thinking about this whole farewell record, like finally coming out, it brings up a lot of stuff, like both good and bad, and happy and sad and hilarious, and it's hard to quantify. Just always, I recently went to the airport the other day and checked in with a couple bags, and it made me automatically think of like the five of us like barging into airports like all across the world with all of our gear, and just like having the meltdown of like them telling us that they'll never be able to ship all of our stuff. And it's like, we know I don't know. It sounds like really silly, but like sometimes the airport meltdowns are the best ones, because you're just trying to get from point B, and it just mayhem can ensue for sure.
Okay. So okay. So speaking of meltdowns, was there ever a show that went as far as like not even going on, or a show that like the audience didn't know was like a last minute hectic, crazy situation because microphones needed to arrive? Was there anything along that nature of like?
Yeah, a lot of them really were, because we were all such sticklers to like make sure that we could put on the best show that we possibly could. But there were so many like electronic and like pedal issues and like guitar issues and bass issues and drum issues that like there were times to where we're just like screaming at like not each other, but just like the situation and trying to get it done. But then, inevitably like just pushing through and getting it done. But, yeah, it gets real stressful because you want to do the best that you can. You've got 45 minutes, you've got or whatever it is. You want to do the job that you're there to do. And it can be very frustrating when, sound issues come up and you're just trying to do your job.
So obviously you've traveled all around the world. I know you've been to Japan, I know you've been to Iceland. If you had to pick one or two of just the coolest cities you've ever been to on tour, what comes to your mind?
Yeah, definitely Tokyo, Barcelona, Reykjavik was a hoot. Bogota, we were really lucky to kind of see a lot of, all sorts of places. They all are a lot of fun,
Did you ever feel like you noticed a difference in the crowds and like how they interact with you, how they cheer? Like, did you ever notice like, oh, this is kind of a unique experience here in this city? The crowd did different things, right? Was there any kind of experience like that where you're like, oh, this is different. This is different culture?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Mexico City, when we played the Corona Festival, like that was a huge crowd, and it was awesome because we weren't sure what to expect. But man, there were people out there that were singing their asses off, and it was a huge crowd, the biggest ones. The Spanish crowds, European crowds were always a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing to anywhere you go that people are, responsive to your music, let alone singing along to it. It's a pretty cool thing. So like look out, into an audience in Tokyo and they're singing along.
That's amazing.
Pretty rad.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I can definitely say, I've obviously been to different sporting events and this and that, and there's nothing quite like, I guess the only word I can really describe it is the kind of magic, the kind of magical experience that you feel as someone in a crowd, and just, just watching you guys on stage and just rocking out and just that kind of, there's always a moment or two or 10 during a concert. I'm like, man, this is just like, can't even put it into words. As amazing as that is, and I know you had to have felt a lot of that electricity when you were on stage, especially in your beginning points of being a musician. Did you ever feel really nervous about going on stage or get anxiety, or was it like nerve-wracking, or was it always just kind of just whatever?
Yeah, not really. It's funny. It's always like when it's the smaller the crowd, I always got weirded out the most. Like if there was like only 5 people out there, then I'd be like, ugh, really gotta.
Okay, so as the crowds got bigger, the nervousness went down. That's how you say it's true.
It was always such an honor to play in front of anybody that, like, if there were that many people there, then like, all right, that's pretty cool already. So
yeah,
let's just go out and do the job. Yeah.
That's awesome. And you actually haven't met her yet, Cor, but you definitely will. My mother-in-law's in the chat. What's up, Shelly? And she asks, out of your music and all of your songs, what would you say is your favorite minus the bear song? If you had to pick a couple, or are there, or let me rephrase, is there a song that really stands out to you, or are there some songs that have extra special meaning to you personally?
I was playing live. I always really enjoyed playing Diamond Lightning or Into the Mirror.
Into the Mirror, so good.
It was like White Mystery, Drilling. There's a lot of songs that I really loved, and yeah, I mean, I love them all. They're all our babies. So
of course.
But yeah, those are sure. Let's Play Clowns. That was always a fun one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of, happy anniversary to your mother and father.
Yeah.
Who are, I believe, celebrating their 37th.
Yeah. Shout out to my mom and pops. 37 years yesterday. Congrats, you two. So awesome. Yeah.
John and Julie. The anniversary.
Cheers, man. Thanks, man. I know they're watching right now. I know they got a big smile on their face. I don't need to be in the same room to see that smile on their faces right now. Thanks, man. And yeah, for those of you just tuning in, I see we got some new viewership. This is my awesome cousin, Cory. He was the bass player for Minus the Bear for 17 long, awesome years. And he is on set now talking about his musical journey. And thanks to all of you for tuning in tonight. Boston actually asks an interesting question that I didn't even think to ask. And obviously I'll leave it to you to give as much or as little detail as you can or as you want. What happened to the band and why did you stop? Was there kind of a uniform decision between all of you and this is kind of it and we're kind of at an age where we want to just stop touring and we're tired of touring? Or if you had to summarize that as good as you can, what would you have to say to that, Cory?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think we all were very invested in the band and wanted to see it, progress as much as we could see it progress. And at a certain point, we were just ready to call it. We'd done tremendous, a tremendous amount together as far as touring and recording and making the albums that we did. But at a certain point, you just kind of are ready to call it and know when the time is to call it. Some bands don't. And we just, we were ready to do other things. So felt really good. And to be able to, go on the last tour that we did, record the songs, put out a new record, our last record of the live tour. I think it just felt right to be able to do it. that way, if that makes sense. But
Hell yeah.
we were just ready.
You just knew it was
We
time.
were ready.
17 years, man. 17 years, that's a long
Yeah.
time. I think, any professional
Yeah.
athlete that plays for 17 years and you're like, hey, 17 years, pal, great job. You went the distance. I can only imagine. Obviously, there's got to be physical wear and tear on your body. And when you do something for that long, obviously, yeah.
Folks have families, there's kids involved. It gets to a point where, you don't, you're ready to pursue other things.
Perfectly said. Perfectly said. And what's up, Benny? My father-in-law also in the chat, who is a massive punk rock fan. He asks, what old punk bands does Cory really dig? Live music rules, he says. And were there any bands that you guys, especially in the beginning stages of your guys' when you guys were first starting to create music and create albums, was there any kind of inspiration or any kind of maybe band or artist that you guys kind of took a little stuff from or kind of wanted to sound a little bit like or anything like that?
Well, I mean, as far as like punk rock bands for me, Minor Threat, The Misfits, Black Flag, all those Dead Kennedys, classic.
Yes.
Those were the punk rock bands I kind of like grew up on. As far as like wanting to sound like anybody, we really didn't have any like set out like, oh, it'd be cool to like sound like these guys. We were all kind of coming out of like the hard rock or hardcore and punk rock scene, and we knew that we didn't want to sound like that. We were listening to a lot of dance music, like electronic stuff like Daft Punk or just like all sorts of weird random like hip hop, like Ludacris and Dr. Dre and Jay-Z and like all the early 90s stuff. And that's like where we were really like inspired by, and to take our hardcore and like punk rock sensibilities and like mesh it with like electronic music and hip hop. That's kind of like what we wanted to do. So it wasn't like, oh, we want to sound like this. It was just like, let's, mix all of it together and see what happens.
That makes like absolute perfect sense. And for anybody that's watching right now that's heard a number of your songs, like that, what you just said, like literally makes absolute perfect sense. Cause I've always thought like, oh, like I know they're like indie rock, kind of punk rock, but you guys have like so many different albums and songs that sound, it's the one thing I've always said I love so much about your guys' music is like, to me, you guys are like the opposite of Green Day. Like, like Green Day songs, like I love Green Day. Don't get me wrong, I love Green Day. But I feel like every song kind of sounds the same. And for you guys, I feel like every album, especially album to album, sounds almost completely different. And especially from song to song. A lot of different types of, beats and feels. And I love that about you guys. So that's awesome what you just said. It makes perfect sense.
It's all dependent on what we were listening to at the time and kind of what we were going,
that's awesome.
Just drawing influence from. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Stozy Pokes, one of my fellow poker brothers in the chat, says, My Time is one of my pump-up songs before I play a poker session. Thanks for all the good jams. Cheers, man. Hell yeah. And so, just to go back a little bit, when you said, obviously we all kind of realized it was time and time to wrap it up and move on to other things in our life now. What are the other things that you are focused on and working on in your life now post-band?
Man, I've been making a lot of art, paintings, you can check out my websites and stuff like that for the painting stuff. And then I'll also, I kind of weirdly fell in love with moving water around. And so I'm now in irrigation water management guy out at like a 500-acre living history museum up in New Mexico where I live. So
Awesome.
yeah, kind of a weird 180, but really following a passion that I didn't realize that I actually had until I started following it.
That's awesome. So you're doing some art and getting your hands dirty and just loving life. That's awesome.
Yeah, working with the land is treating me right and making me really happy these days. So
That's awesome, man. Hell yeah. What is your website for your art, Core? Don't be shy now.
Well, most of the stuff is through Instagram, and that's just C Murchy. And I also have a website called at cmurchy at cmurchy.com or cmurchy.com, I guess. Yeah, I'm on Twitter as well. Not as much on that as much as Instagram. Yep.
Perfect. There we go. I just want to get those links typed in the chat for you guys to check out. Check out Cory's art. Definitely a big fan of it.
Yeah.
And that's awesome, man. And I just have to say, thank you for doing the music thing, and like, I can't tell you how much your music has there's no other way to say it, literally affected my life. Like, I can one of the most powerful moments I can think of Minus the Bear and myself, my personal experience is I was 16 years old, and I literally remember driving my car, and I was going through kind of an emotional high school, probably not such a big thing now looking back on it, but at the moment I was kind of going through a little bit of I don't want to say a tough time, but I was going through like a short-term ordeal. And I just remember driving around, listening to your guys' music, and just thinking to myself, like, it's going to be all right. And it was literally that kind of feeling was 100% because of your music. And it's funny, whenever I listen to your first album now, it always kind of brings me back to driving around my car that day and listening to the music and just like, oh man, it's all good. It's all good. And your music's always, awesome, you guys have always been my favorite band, really. There's no other way to say it. You guys are awesome. And I'm thankful that I was able to, at least for a second, hang out with you guys and smoke a joint with you guys on the tour bus and get to meet all the other cool, band members. And I gotta say, man, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you, man. Not just for the accolades, but just for literally the mission of 17 years of awesome music and traveling and living your dream. I have to say, from cousin to cousin, I couldn't be happier for you, man. I'm happy that I know, especially as you get older and older, I know you have a lot of things to smile about, and courtesy of Minus the Bear, So
yeah.
Hats off to you, man.
I appreciate it.
It's awesome stuff, dude.
I appreciate it. And yeah, thank you very much. It's nice to remember it in such fond ways, and I appreciate when just the fact that it's meant so much to other folks. Like, that's a huge thing, and I really appreciate it. So yeah, thank you.
So I'm going to open it up now, as I always do, for the last 5 or 10 minutes of the show. Any questions that you guys have at all for Cory, please ask away. Now is your time. Shelly, my mother-in-law, asks a great question. Do you have any plans or thoughts on any solo work or any songwriting? Is your music in your mind, are you just absolutely done, or do you have those thoughts of any solo type of thing or anything at all?
No. No, I think I'll always, music will always be a part of my life. And I definitely see, something out there on the horizon. I've been writing songs like in my head in a weird way. So
nice. There's
something out there, but, yeah, it'll always be a part of it.
Okay. If you had to pick your favorite Minus the Bear album.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Yes, stay tuned.
But
If you had to pick your favorite Minus the Bear album, what album would you choose? And this is a question from Kalen Loncar, by the way. What's up, bub?
Nice. It's a tough one. I would have to say, like, if I had to pick one, Planet of Ice. But man, there's some EPs. Beer Commercials is still one of my favorites, and This Is What I Know About Being Gigantic, like our very first EP. I do love that. Like there's something very special about that one. So, but my favorite album probably is Planet of Ice.
Planet of Ice, that's a great one. That was always one of my favorites. Hey, Pink Ceratops in the chat says, yo, 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 Charlie Murchy here. Congrats on the new album, cuz real special. Yo, Charlie. Thanks for tuning in, man. Awesome to have you here. Awesome. Awesome. Oh, Lady Loncar, my wife, Alex, in the chat says, what do you miss most about the Minus the Bear days? That's a great question.
I mean, just those moments on stage where we're able to play and have those moments that we're performing and people are responding, and it's just a beautiful situation.
That's awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, I am going to leave you with your patented way that you left the stage every single time. And this is what I gotta say to you, Cory. Yo, thumbs up and cheers, man. Thanks for coming on tonight. And okay, we're gonna ask. Yeah. We're gonna go one more question because this is such a good question. Before we go, Eddie Town 23, what's up, brother? He says, Cory, if you could collab with anyone today for one song, who would it be? That's a great question. Thanks for being here, Eddie. That's a tough one.
Ariana Grande.
Ariana Grande?
No, it's not. Ariana. Yeah. Not tough at all.
Okay.
Ooh, but you know what? Also maybe Casey Musgraves.
Okay.
It's a toss-up for me.
Okay.
Toss-up.
I like it. Those type of questions are always different answers than I was expecting, for sure. I was not expecting Ariana Grande. That's awesome, man. Cheers, man.
Well, yeah.
Well, again, Cory, I love you so much, man, and thanks for coming on tonight. Thanks for sharing some stuff with us. And again, I couldn't be more proud of what you've accomplished with your musical career, and definitely a lot more proud of as awesome as a musician as you were, and so many memories for me. I probably went to like maybe 15 of your guys' concerts over the years, 10 to 15, and as proud as I am of you as a musician, I can't tell you how proud I am of you as a man. Seriously, man, you've been such a big role model for me from such an early age, and you've always taught me to be humble and respectful, and just to be just a damn good person to other people. And thank you for everything, and love you lots, Cory. Love you lots, man. Thanks for coming on tonight.
God damn it.
I know.
I appreciate you, man. Proud of you, and thanks for having me on. I'll be talking to you soon.
We'll talk really soon. Love you, Cory.
Love you.
All right, man. That was my first teary-eyed moment here on the set. Mr. Cory Murchy. For those of you that didn't catch it, Cory is my cousin, and can obviously recall lots of memories and moments with him way before the Minus the Bear days, and especially looking back to maybe when I was like 10 years old or so, and definitely obviously this isn't a late night talk show on NBC or anything, but definitely wouldn't imagine that 25 years later I'd be hosting him, talking about his musical journey and his accolades and his experiences, and big shout again to Cory Murchy for coming on tonight. I'm going to put his links again in the chat. Shout out to all my family that are out there watching. I got cousin Katie, Aunt Lori, Aunt Connie, my mom and dad, my brother, everyone on my wife's side, my family, mother-in-law, father-in-law, my wife, all of you guys. Thanks to all of you for being here tonight. This is without a doubt gonna go down as my most special Loncar live episode ever. Like no matter where this show takes me to, no matter who I have on, I don't care if I have the President of the United States or Jay-Z or you name it, this will always go down as my most special episode for sure. Absolutely. If you liked this video, make sure and give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, which is free, and don't forget to click the bell, which will let you know when any new video has been uploaded to my YouTube channel. If you want to catch my streams live, I'm currently streaming all day Wednesdays and all day Sundays over at twitch.tv under the username Loncar Poker. Thanks for watching.